Hello everyone, welcome back from spring break. I hope you had a wonderful, relaxing time and that you're ready to hit it hard for these next couple weeks as we move into testing season. So for this week, we are going to do the Rutherford County Schools 2020-2021 TN Ready, also known as EOC, and of course, Integrated 1 practice test. So the first thing you should have done is gone through the PowerPoint and answered each question, and then you should now be watching the video to see how you did. So let's get started. So included is the reference sheet that you'll be given for EOC. The ones that you want to focus on are going to be exponential growth, exponential decay, compound interest, arithmetic sequences, and geometric sequences. Okay, those are the formulas that you will need from this reference sheet for your EOC. Any other formula is not provided, and it's just one that you must know. Okay, so again, it's these 5. You may also be asked to use this reference sheet during the test. All right, so let's go and start with number 1. Select all tables that could represent a function. So hopefully you remember that for a table to represent a function, the x values cannot repeat. So you need to go through each one checking those x values. So A has 1, 2, and 1, -3. B, no x values are repeating, so it looks good. C, -4, -1, 1, 4, no x values are repeating. D, -4, -1, 0, -4, so we have -4 with 8 and 9. And then E, -5, -1, 7, and 8, no x values repeat. So I end up with my answers of B, C, and E. B, C, and E. For number 2, we are still looking at functions, and it says which of the following ordered pairs can be removed from the table so the relation represents a function. Select all that apply. So let's find out what our problem is. Our problem is that our 1 value is repeating. So we could remove 1, 1, or we could remove 1, 4, which is, I believe, a little bit off screen, but it is answer choice F. Okay, so for number 2, your answers are B and F. All right, number 3, still with functions. Which relations represent functions? Select all that apply. So for the table, -3, -2, -1, 5, and 9, my x values do not repeat. B, it passes the vertical line test. I can draw a vertical line anywhere through this function. It's only going to touch 1 time. C, -2, 0, 2, 4, 8. None of those x values repeat. None have more than 1 line coming out of them. C is a function. D, y equals 2x minus 7. That's slope-intercept form, which is a linear function. E is the only one that is not a function, as it does not pass the vertical line test. Okay, you can see that I'll touch more than 1 spot. Number 4, what is the domain of the graph shown below? Remember that domain is all of your x values, and we go from the leftmost point to the rightmost point. Okay, leftmost to rightmost. So my leftmost point is at -1, and it's a closed circle, so I need to use the or equal to. X, because it's domain, again it's a closed circle, so or equal to, and that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need answer choice A. -1 is less than x is less than 6. Number 5, the 4th term of a sequence is 108. Each term after the first is 3 times the previous. Select all the following that describe this relationship. All right, this one's going to have some things on it that we haven't really dealt with this year, but I want to go over them in case you see them again. So we have done sequences. So the 4th term is 108. So 1, 2, 3, 108. Each term after the first is 3 times the previous. I meant to go to pen. All right, so if it's 3 times, then to go backwards, we're just going to do divided by 3. So 108 divided by 3 is going to give us what? 36. Divided by 3 is 12. Divided by 3 is 4. Okay, so we know that the first term in my sequence is 4. And we also know that we are multiplying by 3 each time. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look over here. So A says A sub n equals 3 times A to the n minus 1, or A sub 1 equals 4. The only thing you want to pay attention to on this one is A sub 1. Don't worry about the other parts. Is A sub 1 4? Yes, my first term is 4, so A is correct. Let's look at other answer choices. So E and F also say where A sub 1 equals. E says A sub 1 is 3, so it's out. F says A sub 1 is 108, so it's out. So now all we have left are answer choices B, C, and D. Those are all exponential. Okay, those are all exponential. So what we need to do for this one is write our geometric sequence as an exponential function. So I'm going to write up here, for exponential functions, it's A times B to the x power. So we just talked about this, where A is our initial value, B is our growth factor. Okay, so our initial value is not our first term. Remember, initial value is where x is equal to 0 on a table, so it's the 0 term. So if this is my first term, second term, third term, fourth term, we need to go back one more time. Okay, so 4 divided by 3 to give me my 0 term would be 4 over 3, 4/3. So I get y equals 4/3 times, we're multiplying by 3, to the x power. Now that I have my exponential function, remember that we're just going to plug in 1. Okay, so if I plug in 1, I'm going to have y equals 4/3 times 3 to the first power, which is 3. So 4 times 3 is 12 over 3. So y equals 4. Okay, y equals 4, which makes sense because my first term is 4. So now we're going to do the same thing and see if we get 4 over here. So 3 times 4 to the 1 minus 1 would be 3 times 4 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. B's out. Now we'll do C. 4 times 3 to the 1 minus 1. So 4 times 3 is 0. That's 1. 4 times 1 is 4. So C is an answer. Let's see here. D. 108 times 3 to the n minus 4. So I'm going to have 108 times 3 to the 1 minus 4. So 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So 108 times 3 to the negative 3 power. Now, if I were you, I would just be using my Desmos calculator and plugging that in to see what you get. If you don't, then you would have to remember from 8th grade, anything to the negative power, we put a 1 over it, or flip it to the reciprocal. So I get 1 over 3 cubed, which is 1 over 127. So 108 divided by, not 127, divided by 27. And then that would simplify to 4. So we get A, C, and D. A, C, and D. Again, E doesn't work because A sub 1 is not 3. F doesn't work because A sub 1 is not 108. Okay, so we just get A, C, and D. All right, number 6. A gravel company sells gravel by the cubic yard and charges a flat delivery fee. The table shows the total cost C based on the amount of gravel in cubic yards G. All right, so we need to find the function that represents the situation. So we're going to write a linear equation, slope-intercept form. First thing we need to do is find the slope. Okay, notice this is skipping points. It goes from 2 to 5 to 7 to 8. So you need to use your slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I call this x1 and x2, y1, y2, so I'm going to have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 139 minus 67. Let me grab my calculator. You should be using a calculator on this. 72 over 5 minus 2 is 3. And then 72 divided by 3 is 24. So I need a slope of 24. I only have one answer. That is a slope of 24. If this was a different problem, you needed to find b. Remember, you can go backwards to get to where x is equal to 0. Or you can plug into y equals mx plus b. To do that, you just need your slope, which we know is 24, and an x and a y. So you just use those from the table. So y is 67 equals 24 times, that's the y, so my x is 2, plus b. 24 times 2 is 48, plus b. And then you just subtract 48 on both sides. 67 minus 48 is going to give you 19 equals b, which also matches up. All right, number 7. Equal size fence panels are used to construct corrals as seen below. Which of the following could be used to describe the relationship between the number of corrals, C, and the number of fence panels, P? Select all. Okay, first things first. A corral is the entire square. Each fence panel is a side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 fence panels make up one corral. Then we go to number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 make up 2 corrals. Okay, it skipped 3 corrals, but let's add it in. 3, and then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 corrals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Are you seeing the pattern yet? We went from 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 3 is 13. Each time, all we're doing is adding on 3 more panels. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're adding on 3 each time. So it says to get to the next step in the sequence, add 3 fence panels to the right of the corrals in the previous step. Yes, that's true. We're adding 3 corrals every time. P equals 3C plus 1. Well, let's figure it out, okay? We're just going to plug in. So for one corral, so corral is C, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Okay, that is true. 4 fence panels make up 1. Now let's plug in 2 and see if we get 7. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, let's try one more just to see. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So B works. C, look at this last part. A sub 1 equals 4. That's true. When I'm at one corral, it equals 4. D, P equals 4C. Again, plug in. 4 times 1 does give me 4. But then 4 times 2 gives me 8. And it should be 7. So D is out. E, 4C minus C minus 1. Again, plug in. So if I plug in one corral, 4 times 1 minus 1 minus 1 would be 4 times 1 is 4. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So 4 minus 0 equals 4. That works out. We can try it for 2 just to see. 4 times 2 minus 2 minus 1. So 8 minus 1 equals 7. That one works. If it helps, you could also always simplify the equation first. F, P equals 2 times 1 corral plus 1 corral minus 1 plus 2. So we'd have 2 plus 0 plus 2 equals 4. We can try 2 just to see. So if I do 2, it would be 2 times 2 is 4 plus 2 minus 1 is 1 plus 2 equals 7. So this one writes. And then to get to the next step, add 4 fence panels. We know that's incorrect. It's 3. So we get A, B, C, E, and F. Remember that T and Ready, or EOC as it's called in high school, is all or nothing. There is no partial credit on these. All right, number 8. Grace and her brother Sid want to raise money to go to band camp. Their parents have agreed to let them earn $550 by paying them $15 when one mows and $8 each hour they babysit. They will have to do a combination of both chores in order to earn the money. Select the equation that represents the number of lawns they can mow, M, an hour they can babysit, B, to earn $550. Okay, $15 per yard mowed plus $8 per hour for babysitting. C. All right, number 9. A teacher spends $30 at a store for X pens and Y notebooks. The store charges $3 for every pen and $5 for each notebook. The easiest way to do this one is to plug in your X and Y axis points here. All right, so for A, my x-axis, that would be at over 10 of 0. My y-axis would be 0, 5. All right, so it says number of pens. So that would be 10 pens and 0 notebooks. So pens are $3, so that would be $30 plus 0 for the notebook, so that would work. On this one, for number of notebooks, it's 0 pens and 5 notebooks. 5 times 5 is 25, so this one doesn't work. Here, number of pens is at 5, so 5 times 3 is $15. Doesn't work. For this one, number of notebooks is 10. 10 times 5 is 50. Doesn't work. For this one, number of notebooks is 6. 6 times $5 per notebook is 30. Or I could get just 10 pens. 10 times 3 is 30. D. All right, number 10, an auto mechanic charges $32 for a house call plus $14 per hour for any work done. For one client's house call, the mechanic charges a total of $2. Which equation represents the situation? Okay, so $23 plus $14 per hour. 14 per hour plus 23 one time is 14H plus 23, C. 11, we have a sequence again. Consider the first 5 terms of a sequence. If n is the term number, which formula generates the given sequence? Okay, so we just need to write our geometric sequence here. So the first term in the sequence is 320. So that takes out A and B. We are dividing by 4 each time. Remember, we write that as a reciprocal. So dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying by 1 over 4. So it's D. Number 12, which arithmetic sequence rules produce the term value shown in the table below? Select all that apply. So this is saying n of 1. So the first term is -2. The second term is 4. The third term is 10. The fourth term is 16. We already know it's an arithmetic sequence. So we know first term plus, how much am I adding? 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 6 is 16, times n minus 1. Okay, so it's going to give me -2 plus 6n minus 6. A sub n equals 6n minus 8. So C is correct, A is not, B is not, D is not, because they all, would look the same. E and F, again, all we need to do is look for the first term. My first term is -2, so E is my answer. C and E. C and E. All right, 13. 800 grams of bacteria doubles each day. which of the following functions represents the grams of bacteria B t days from now? Exponential function. My initial value was 800 grams. It's doubling, which is times 2 to the t power. So 800 times 2 to the t would be d. In the diagram below, line SP, so I'm going to highlight as I do this. So this means, line SP, so S to P, is parallel to RT, which we can see they are parallel to one another, and SR is parallel to PT. Okay, so we have a parallelogram right there. And we can see this parallelogram here is also cut by a diagonal, creating two congruent triangles. Okay, so which of the following could be used to prove that triangle RST, so RST, is here, R to S to T. And then PTS would be P to T and then to S. Okay, so we have two triangles there, the yellow one and the purple one, and they're sharing one side. And we need to prove they are congruent. We need to prove that they are congruent. So, couple things to know about these is that if the lines are parallel to one another, okay, they're an equal distance apart. So whatever is being held in by this parallel line and this parallel line, okay, it's going to create equal sides. This side is going to be the same as this side. Okay. We can also see the same thing going this way, that we also have parallel lines here, which again are going to be equidistant. So that means this line and this line are congruent to one another. Okay, so let me see if I can do some colors here. All right, so this one and this one, okay, those are the same because of the parallel lines. And then we also have, these are the same because of the parallel lines. Okay. Then the line down the middle here, it's the same for each triangle because they're sharing it. Okay. So basically we're saying that this side, the red side, the black side, and the purple side are the same. So that's called side, side, side. I know we haven't gotten to that yet, but that's side, side, side theorem. Okay. We can also look at the angles. So again, let me take the color off. All right, so if we're looking at angles here, because of the way that these are cut, again, we are ending up with all these congruent angles. So when you are looking, we have these two angles right here are split by this diagonal. Okay, so those are going to be the same. And then we also have 2 is the same as 5. Okay, if you kind of think about reflecting that over, all their angles are basically the same. Now there's no such thing as angle, 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 but there is angle, side angle. Okay, so because we have this angle here is the same as this angle here, we can say angle, side, angle, and it's the same on both sides. Okay, we can also do side, angle, side. Let me try to change colors again, because we could say, okay, we have a side. This side they share is the same. We know that this angle is shared, and then we know this side is also the same because of the parallel, so we can say side, angle, side. And then there's also angle, angle, side. Okay, angle, angle, side. I know that doesn't really make a lot of sense since you guys haven't learned about it, but basically that's what it means, that you have to be able to prove angles and sides to know that they're congruent. So this one is A, B, C, and D. All right, 15. Consider triangle 1 and triangle 2. Using only the given measurements and no other calculations, which criteria can be used to prove triangle 1 is congruent to triangle 2? All right, so here's what we can see. 14, 14, 9, 9, 5.5, 5.5. So we can see side, side, side. See, side, 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 congruency. 16. Given that triangle FGC, so F to G to C, this little triangle, is isosceles, which means two of the angles are the same. Okay, so it's going to be this one and this one are the same. Which of the following methods will prove that triangle ABC, so that's A to B to C, and then we go back again, is congruent to triangle DEF. So D to E to F. Okay, so using the little isosceles angle, how do we prove that the two larger triangles are the same? Okay, so let's look for things that we can see. So I'm going to take the color back off. All right, so here's something I see. I see that we have a right angle on each place. Okay, so that's the starting point. We got the right angles. We also have a pair of matching sides here. Okay, pair of matching sides there. So let's see. We know that these sides also match. All right, and so then we can go back to these little tiny angles right here match because it's an isosceles triangle. So that little tiny angle there is a part of this bigger triangle. This little tiny angle is a part of this triangle. So we have angle, angle, side. Okay, same thing over here. Angle, angle, side. E, angle, angle, side. Uh, 17. 10-pin bowling charges a fee to rent shoes and a cost per game. The shoe rental costs $2.75 and each game costs $5. If a bowler spends a total of $17.75 to rent shoes and bowl G games, which statement is true? Let's see here. The equation 275G plus $5 equals $17.75. Same thing, but when G equals 4, G equals 5. Okay, so we are looking at doing some plugging in here. So let's look back up it again. So it's $2.75, and each game costs $5. So $5 per game. So it can't be A, and it can't be B. Yeah, it's got to be C or D. So we just need to plug in here. So G equals 3. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17.75. So it's C. And we just got to plug in. Number 18, which two inequalities have a solution of x is less than or equal to 4? So for this one, you should have chosen B and D. B and D. To work them out, you would just say negative 3 times x is negative 3x plus 3 greater than or equal to negative 9. So like subtract 3 on both sides. We get negative 12. Divide by negative 3. Remember, when we divide both sides by negative, we flip the sign of the inequality symbol. So x is less than or equal to 4. And then for D, this one you don't even have to distribute. We would say plus 1, negative 3x greater than or equal to negative 12. Divide by negative 3 again. The sign flips. X is less than or equal to 4. 19. The balance of an account after T years can be found using the expression 7,000 times 1.03 to the T, where the initial balance was $7,000. By what percent does the account increase annually? So remember, that's going to have to do with your growth factor, which is 1.03. Remember, I told you that you can change anything to a percent by moving your decimal 2 times to the right. So that's 103%, which is 3% over 100. So it's growing at a rate of 3% annually. Number 20, I think this one has an error in it. The Boonville History Museum had 35,000 visitors in 1990. The number of visitors has decreased by 2.7% each year since. Which function represents the number of visitors to the Boonville History Museum T years after 1990? So 20 says that E is the correct answer. Let's just check it because I know originally there was an error on here. So we would have, this is decay, so you're going to use y equals a times 1 minus r to the x. So we get y equals 35,000 times 1 minus, we move 1, 2, 0.027 to the x power. And then we would subtract it. 1 minus 0.027 should be, yeah, 973. So it looks like E is correct. Yep. All right, just a few more. The expression 102,000 times 0.995 to the T represents the population of a town T years after 1990. Which following statements best describes the scenario? So first thing I would say is less than 1, so we know this is decay. So this says increases, increases, increases. So B, the population of the town decreases by 0.5% each year, or it decreases by 0.9995% each year. Remember, to see what it's actually been decreasing, you can do it 2 ways. You could turn it into a percent by moving 1, 2, which would get you to 99.5%. So I need another 0.5% to be at 100. Or you can do 1 minus B times 100. (22) A restaurant has a group of seats at the counter and T individual tables, where each table has the same number of seats. If 3T plus 15 represents the total number of seats in the restaurant, what does the 15 represent? So that's T is tables. A restaurant has a group of seats at the counter and T individual tables. So that's, 3 chairs per table plus 15 would be the seats at the counter. 23, fishermen have been studying how the number of dead fish in the local lake is related to the pollution index of the lake. The number of fish deaths per year is modeled by f of x equals 8.7x plus 91.4. Which value represents the slope, and what does it mean in the context of the scenario? 8.7 is my slope. That takes out b and c. Remember that your slope is the part that's changing. Okay, so 8.7 number of fish deaths per year when the pollution index is 0, or D, 8.7 number of fish deaths that occur with an increase of 1 in the pollution index. So right now we're just thinking in terms of linear, okay? So again, let's see. The number of fish deaths per year is modeled by 8.7 fish deaths per year plus 91.4. All right, it's going to be A. When the pollution index is 0, that 0 would be like your initial value. The profit in thousands P of X of a company is modeled by the function below, where X is the month since opening. Okay, which of the following best describes the situation? So we have the profit in thousands of a company is modeled by the function below, where X is the month since opening. So 5 times the months since opening plus 6 equals the profit. Well, let's see. If we plugged in for it, okay, at 0 months, so just when they open, 5 times 0 is 0 plus 6 would be 6, which means that's positive. So they can't have owed money. And then the company has a positive profit at its opening, has continued to gain money. Well, let's put in 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 6 is 11. 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 6 is 16. So we're going to keep adding 5 each time. It's going to be B is going to continue to gain money. All right, last one for today, number 25. Consider the system of inequalities graphed on the coordinate plane. Select the 2 inequalities represented in the system of inequalities. So let's start with the positive one, so the dashed line. So it starts at 1. It's shaded above, so y is greater than, just greater than because it's dashed, something plus 1. So it could be y is greater than x plus 1. It's the only one I see that could work. So x would be 1. So rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1. Yes. Solid line, y is, it's shaded above, so greater than or equal to. It goes through -3. So greater than or equal to and -3. That's the only one. -1/2, rise 1, run 2, rise 1, run 2. And there you go. So that's your assignment for today. Feel free to look over any that you might have questions about. Email me if you have any questions. No LHS mastery this week. Just use this time to catch up on anything you need to get caught up on, and make sure you are doing these videos to go over EOC testing, and you should be receiving your schedule. More information soon.